Which job isn't worth respect? Story 1. Had a buddy in college that was swapping the coilovers on his Toyota our first week of the semester. Small job, lots of parking and space, did it right in the parking lot. We had a week grace period after moving in to get things sorted and our cars registered. Buddy had an understanding with the front office that he'd have an extra few days to run home and get some paperwork to register the vehicle. Front office either didn't tell the towing company or the towing company didn't care. Buddy is swapping the coilovers Saturday morning, the morning after the no-tow grace period ends, before he runs home to get paperwork. Has it up on jack stands when he breaks for lunch. Comes back 30 minutes later and his car that was on jack stands is gone. They saw his car, went back to their shop to get tires, put them on his car just to tow it, and took the tires back off. They had the balls to pal around with him when he showed up like, "Yeah, Bobby said betcha can't tow that one," and I said betcha I can. Charged hourly rate to put the tires on, charged rental fee for the tires, charged for the tow, charged hourly rate to take the tires off, charged hourly rate to put his tires back on so he could drive it off. You can't put those tires on yourself, sir. Insurance won't let you do car maintenance on our property. You'll have to pay us to put those tires on. Tow truck drivers are actual parasites. Tow trucks should be for broken down vehicles, vehicle deliveries, and abandoned vehicles. Story 2. Payday loan sharks. A while back I could have used a couple extra bucks, so I looked up a few of those places. I make enough that I don't have to use them, but it would have made things a little bit easier. Anyways, one place in particular boggled my mind. They offered a loan of $1,000 and the interest would have come to something like $250 for the loan. I really only needed $500, so I figured I could use the other half to get tires for my car, something I've been needing to do for a while. So I went to sign up. But it's not that simple. When I got there and they explained the loan to me, I just about flipped out. See, I was okay with paying 25% interest on $1,000, but it wasn't $1,000. What they do is advance you to $100. You then make payments to pay off the full $1,000 that they lend you. Once you've paid it off, then they give you the other $800. So in reality, you're not paying 25% interest on a $1,000 loan, you're paying 125% on a $200 loan and a forced savings account. Story 3. They recruit people for fake talent agencies. They do these whole presentations often in person, to get new actors and models to sign up at the end with an initiation fee sometimes in the thousands. A lot of the people being scammed don't know the company is a scam until afterwards when they look them up on Yelp or the BBB. The recruiter usually seems legit. I don't know how they sleep at night knowing that's how they make the entirety of their income. I almost got scammed into one of those as a 14-year-old. My best friend and I begged our parents to take us to a modeling agency recruitment event. Of course, we were both accepted, but then they had to speak with our parents to get the money. My parents saw right through it. They didn't explain right away why they were saying no, and I was so angry and said terrible things to them on the way home. Later, they explained that they thought it was suspicious and that if they wanted my talent, they should be offering me a contract and money, not the other way around. My friend's parents did fall for it, and it turned out to be pretty much just what they used to call finishing school. It was basically classes on society, social etiquette, and other stuff like don't put your dirty napkin on your plate and proper table settings and what utensil is for what. Story 4. Timeshare salespeople. Mom and I used to vacation at my grandma's timeshare. A couple times, they offered us a free night to listen to their pitch. The first time, my mom walks in there and says to the guy first thing, "Look, here's the deal. I'm here so my son can stay another free night and I won't buy anything no matter what." The guy wastes the better part of her day giving her the pitch, showing her properties, buying her lunch, and whatever else they do. Finally, after like 6 hours, he tries to close and the absolute shock on his face when she said no, he kind of got upset because he wasted his whole day, and she was like, "Bro, I told you when I walked in I was not gonna buy anything. Now give me my free night so I can spend time with my son." Story 5. Unethical animal breeders, for example puppy farmers. Animals are literally bred to suffer and live horrendous lives because of them. Mothers are forced to breed at unsustainable rates and are often left malnourished and gravely ill. Their puppies develop serious illnesses very early in life and many of them die within weeks of their adoption. It benefits nobody but the cruel, irresponsible breeders. My grandparents adopted an old and abused feral pig hunting dog. Unsure of the breed, but looked whippet. She was likely forced to breed and give several litters of hunting dog pups. She probably didn't even take part in hunting, too busy breeding with studs and caring for her children. When my grandparents got a hold of her, she was extremely malnourished and had several potentially cancerous tumors on her. She stayed with them for a good amount of time, regaining her strength, and even went through surgery to remove some of the tumors from her body. She got to the point where she learned how to love people again. At this point, she had been with them for 2 years. Sadly, I think the damage from a lifetime of abuse had already taken a toll on her body. She was thoughtfully euthanized after further complications that could not be helped. She was a really sweet dog though, and I'm glad to have seen her enjoy her final couple years in peace among people that loved her. Story 6. Health insurance agents that deny health insurance for cost reasons. They shouldn't even exist. If I pay for insurance and my doctor asks for a procedure, it's the job of the insurance to pay. End of story. I have to go through this every year. Every year my doctor submits the same exact paperwork, just with a different date. Yes, my chronic illness still hasn't magically disappeared after 20+ years, and if it did, I wouldn't be taking this medication for funsies. I have to coordinate my pharmacy, doctor, and insurance to get it all done within 30 days, or else I'm going to run out of my medication I need. And the only reason is because the medication is expensive, so they don't want to pay for it. Paying for expensive things is the entire point of health insurance. What the f? Story 7. I was working as a customer service representative in a call center when I witnessed something that made me lose all respect for the company and the industry as a whole. One day, I overheard a colleague of mine who was working in the sales department on the phone with an elderly woman. He was using all of the typical high-pressure sales tactics that we were trained to use, promising her a free trial of a product and asking for her credit card information to cover the shipping costs. But what happened next was truly appalling. When the woman hesitated, my colleague became aggressive and started yelling at her, calling her stupid and telling her that she would regret not taking advantage of the offer. He even threatened to charge her card if she didn't comply. I was stunned. I couldn't believe that someone would treat a customer like that, especially someone who was clearly vulnerable and unsure of what was happening. It was a clear case of elder abuse, and it made me sick to my stomach. I knew that I couldn't just stand by and watch this happen. I reported the incident to my supervisor, and he assured me that he would look into it, but I could tell that he wasn't taking it seriously. After all, this kind of behavior was not uncommon in our industry, and as long as we were making sales, it didn't seem to matter how we treated our customers. I felt powerless and trapped. I knew that what we were doing was wrong, but I also knew that I needed the job to pay my bills. I felt like I was complicit in the scam, even though I wasn't directly involved in the sales department. From that day forward, I tried to distance myself from the sales team as much as possible. I focused on providing the best customer service that I could, even though I knew that it was all part of the same unethical system. Story 8. There are way worse professions represented in this thread, but I'll put in financial planners. Sure, there are some decent ones, but the vast majority are just failed car salesmen and the like, who are just the face of some algorithm that allocates you based on age and risk allocation. When your account goes up, all credit to them. When your account goes down, it's a conversation of why it's the market's fault, how you should keep your money with them, because this is a long-term strategy and some bumps along the way we're expected. I am an estate planning attorney who has worked intimately with financial planners, and I have met so many predatory ones that my knee-jerk is to not respect them anymore. The ones I've met that I'd actually consider good aren't ones that are able to predict the market better, because no one can. They are the ones who actually listen to and get to know their clients, take their true considerations into account, and recommend strategies based on those considerations and needs instead of what is most profitable for them. The fact that a subset of the industry proudly advertises themselves as fee-only to show they will work without considerations of commission shows that they have to tie their own hands, or they are likely to screw you for their benefit. I am so jaded that I do not fully believe that fee-only advisors don't get some back-end trails being paid to them depending on the funds they put you in. Story 9. Televangelist priests who have hundreds of millions, don't pay taxes, and tell people they don't love God if they don't keep donating. Preach. Have a TV church. but don't scam people out of millions a month. There was one guy, Jesse Duplantis, who told his followers that God wanted him to have a new jet and they needed to give him $54 million to buy it because his current jet was outdated. Kenneth Copeland defended his jet, saying that he couldn't be expected to get on a crappy plane full of dopeheads and demons. Excuse me? You mean the people who you're supposed to serve who send you money? As an avid concert goer, I was always curious about how tickets for popular events would sell out in mere minutes. It wasn't until I stumbled upon the world of online event ticket buyers that I realized the true extent of the problem. These buyers were essentially a group of people who made their living by predicting demand for events and buying up large quantities of tickets to resell at a higher price. They were like ticket scalpers on steroids, with an entire industry of companies built entirely of full-time sales and procurement employees. At first, I was fascinated by the logistics of it all. How did they know which events would be popular, and how did they manage to buy up so many tickets so quickly? But as I learned more about the industry, my fascination quickly turned to disgust. These buyers weren't just opportunistic entrepreneurs looking to make a quick buck. They were actively contributing to a system that made it nearly impossible for regular fans to attend events at a reasonable price. By buying up large quantities of tickets and reselling them at inflated prices, they were essentially taking advantage of the free market to exploit fans who were willing to pay extra to see their favorite artists or teams. I couldn't help but feel like this was all just a big scam. The buyers were essentially hoarding tickets, artificially driving up demand, and then profiting off of it at the expense of regular fans. It was like they were creating their own demand and then charging a premium for it. Story 10. I don't know if it's all states, but in mine, they treat that like a pawn loan. At least by me, while it renews every 30 days, if you pay the minimum each time, some of that money goes to the principal. If it's $300, like $10 goes to the principal. It's not much, and it basically guarantees that they'll have you on the hook for a long time. I've done it twice. First time there was an unexpected repair on the car. My rear axle bearings went out. It was cheaper to replace the entire rear end with a junkyard pull, but even that was $900. So I borrowed $1,000. I was making my payments, paying more so I'd finish early, when my transmission started slipping. So I did what any red-blooded American would do. I stopped paying on the loan. I put the money aside for a new car and kept using it until the trans finally died. They kept calling me and threatening to repo the car, so I told them that I'd just turn it in. Had my buddy tow the car to their office one morning before they opened, and once they did, I turned in my keys. I couldn't help but laugh when they got in, started it up, and tried to move it. Dude just sat there revving the engine. I smiled and waved as I drove away. They sold the car at auction, and I never heard anything again from them. The second time, I forgot why I did it, but I did. I went to a different place. First place wouldn't give me a loan after I stuffed them before, and this new place was anal about reading and understanding the contract. One line in it caught my attention. It said that the loan was a pawn loan, and that in the event of default, they would repo the car. Once the car was repossessed, they would consider the transaction complete and would not come after me for any difference of monies. It also specified that I needed to have insurance on the vehicle of at least the state minimums. Both of these points are very important. Fast forward 9 months. I'm still paying, and almost finished. I was leaving for work on a cold and rainy night. The roads were slick, I wasn't paying attention, and I rear-ended a conversion van. I totaled my car and didn't even scratch the van. My car ended up getting towed away. A couple of days later, I called the loan place and informed them that I would no longer be paying and that they were free to come get the car. I informed them of the car's location, and that was that. I thought it was over, but nope. A few weeks later, I got a call from the loan place threatening to repo if I didn't pay. I again told them that I voluntarily surrendered the car. I gave the location to the tow yard and told them to get it. They said, "Fine, we'll get it." They called back a couple of days later crying because the tow fee was $2,000,3000 because of storage. I laughed and said they should have gotten it a couple of weeks ago when I let them know where it was and to get it then. Evidently, they got it from the yard because I didn't receive notice from the tow yard that they would scrap or sell the car to cover fees. Normal notification. Had a totaled car before, and by law they have to send notice to recoup fees. A couple weeks after all that, I get another call from the loan place threatening to sue me if I don't pay. Their reasoning: You're required to have insurance on the vehicle as part of the loan agreement. Per the loan agreement, yes, I was required to carry insurance, the state minimum. My state's minimum is liability only, not full coverage. Needless to say, they were not happy when I told them of all of this. I knew this wouldn't be the end of it, so I made copies of the contract, highlighted these parts, printed out the statutes on required auto insurance for the state, and put them in a neat folder on my desk. Then I waited. About a year later, I got a call from a law firm. They let me know that they are in the beginning stages of filing suit and were reaching out to me to see if I wanted to settle things before it got nasty. I asked them if they had copies of the contract and if they looked over said contract. They said yes. Good. So when I email you copies with highlighted portions, you can verify that it's the same contract I emailed. They have yet to respond. It's been about 8 years now, and I'm still waiting for that process server to serve me the papers they said they'd file if I didn't pay.